early into my career, we weren't as connected as we are now. I came in March 2001. There wasn't cell phones. I remember having to wait for truck drivers to get to a payphone.
Ascend TMS didn't exist.
Yeah, they didn't exist, right? 2005, I was burned out. Being able to be a good broker and to be a driver and trucker, you have to be a good business, which is where it kind of starts to get tricky. I like to talk to people about it because a lot of it was done through failure.
We are out here in Danville, California right now with Tyson Lawrence. Tyson, this is actually pretty badass. This is one of like the cooler podcast recordings I think we've ever done.
It's a really nice place.
We're about to order some Italian food at a super nice restaurant here in Danville, Piatti, California.
Yeah.
Love it.
Talk about California.
Yeah.
California dream. California is the 4th largest economy in the world.
In the world. They just passed Germany.
Wow.
It's weird when you say it, when you think about it. And especially you guys travel so much, and
Yeah.
Germany just was who California passed.
That's crazy though.
Right.
Honestly, if you think about that, like Germany,
Yeah.
the whole country. I wonder, like, landmass, is it almost the same or is it different?
That's a good question. I'm not real sure about that. But when you travel the state, so I'm not a native Californian. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I love the West Coast though.
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. So Washington State.
Okay.
Yeah. Eastern Washington, more specifically. I came down here to the Bay Area or California 25 years ago when I was 22 years old. So I've spent over half my life, in California. So it's kind of this weird dichotomy. My girls are natives. My wife's a native. But everybody here, there's a lot of transplants. People from all over the place.
Yeah.
Right? So it's always kind of, when do you officially call yourself a Californian? But I've paid enough taxes, I figure.
Let's go. You haven't left.
No, but it's you go from top to bottom, and it's just a really diverse state. And tech obviously here in the Bay, you got a lot of agriculture, Sacramento in the Central Valley, produce down on the Central Coast. Then you got Hollywood, San Diego. San Diego's its own thing,
Yeah.
But it's just really a lot going on, and so there's oil out there, they don't do it as much for environmental reasons, but it does have a full rounded kind of business. Mostly,
Tyson,
Yes.
today we want to break down a few topics. And the reason why we're in SF right now is because we're hitting up a lot of freight tech companies, specifically TruckSmarter. TruckSmarter is the reason why we're actually out here. They reached out to us to create some content for their launch. They have some big news coming up. So we're excited to be here. And shout out to TruckSmarter for actually bringing us out here. And we're visiting other
We
freight
posted
tech.
a lot of good memes for you guys.
And now we're about to post really good content. But
Yeah.
what's really interesting about, I think, SF overall is, like you said, the freight tech. There's not a lot of brokers out here.
Yeah.
That's something that, like, we discussed when you were on Freight Gone Friday a few months ago.
Right.
Was obviously, like, there's not that many brokerages out here. But, like, freight tech, like, there's, like, the second generation of freight tech right now, which is, like, focused on AI. And, like, it would be cool to kind of, like, hear your thoughts on, first of all, like, tell us which brokerages are out here to begin with, because there's, I think, a few of them. If we, a little bit about that, but also, like, how freight tech is changing, and you see it maybe closer a little bit since you're, very close to SF in the Silicon Valley, like, seeing, like, what's happening in the AI, like, kind of scene at the moment.
Man, it's really changing fast. I think there's some companies that are really going for it as far as, like C.H. Robinson, obviously. I think, they're committed to it. I think they see AI as a way to, cut some of their workforce. They won't say that, but really.
They actually have said that.
Have they said that?
I'm like, because we do like
good,
quarterly
'cause I'm glad.
reports, and they actually emphasize that quite a lot about how AI is helping them, like, do a lot more.
So when you're building a freight brokerage, and I'm sure of one of that size, especially that's publicly traded, you got to find different ways to make money, but you're contrary to popular belief, your margins aren't going to change that much. They're making around 15-20% or whatever it says in their corporate earnings, maybe even less. But so they've got to find other ways to cut, costs.
Increase margin.
Right, and increase margin. And one of that ways is either your assets, which are their land, their leases, their rents, or people, fundamentally people. And AI is really derived to take away a lot of that paper pushing type of jobs. And those are the ones that cost the most in a freight brokerage because they're non-revenue producing.
Yeah.
Right? So if they can take off a percentage of that, automatically they're more profitable. their shareholders are happy. And so the fact they're committing to it, I think, says a lot. And it's going to kind of lead the charge of what's happening. And there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in the wake of that. And it's happening fast, so sometimes it's hard for me to really keep up with it. I just think CH is really going to, they're leading they're I mean, obviously it just makes sense for them to do it because it's so big. That's always been their thing is the tech. But so I don't know what's going to happen behind it, but I'm very interested to see how it settles in because I see the effectiveness of it in the freight brokering position in the 3PL space. It could be really a great tool.
Back when I was brokering freight full-time, my day didn't end when a load delivered. That's actually when the real mess began. Tracking down PODs, dealing with rate disputes, and getting hit with random calls from factoring companies. Total time suck. I wish I had something like ePay Manager back then. They built a platform that keeps brokers, carriers, and factors all on the same page. It actually makes the back office feel organized. If you're still piecing together spreadsheets and emails, this will save you hours. If you're tired of wasting time post-load, go to epaymanager.com or text ePayFC to 80483.
Your first role was at C.H. Robinson, right?
Correct.
That's how you got into logistics.
Yep.
When was that?
2001.
2001. Okay, wow. Can you almost
Almost
when you say
like pretty
2001?
much pre-cell phones.
Yeah. When you say 2001, the first thing I think of is 9/11.
So I came in March of 2001, and then had a wonderful first summer in California, working at C.H. Robinson, and then 9/11 happened, that fall, and that shifted, obviously everything, right? I was so early into my career, I didn't understand what was really happening, but it was a surreal day, I'll tell you that, because we weren't as connected as we are now, right? And so you were transmitting the news to a lot of truckers that day. Well, we're hearing it for the first time through you.
Wow.
So that was impactful. Being in the major metro, I think one of the planes was headed here, and so I was from a small town, so I was like, okay, this is what happens when when you're in a big town, you're in a big city. But it was just I think for everybody it just kind of changed things. But it evolved. Trucking was and logistics was an interesting time. There wasn't cell phones in everybody's trucks. I remember having to wait for truck drivers to get to a payphone. To check in sometimes.
Okay, so I mean, there's 9/11. Like that obviously had a big effect. Like just from like that, like it means a lot in the sense that like it's something you remember, right? Everyone remembers like 9/11 for them. I remember like I was in second grade when 9/11 happened, and I remember vividly like that day. You know,
it's
like
so
probably the only day I remember as a second grader, to be honest. Besides maybe Halloween. And like it just leaves like an imprint. But like that's like so long ago. That's 20. I mean, not so long ago, but in a way,
25 years.
25 years, almost 25 years.
Yeah.
See,
But like so much has changed. Like because you were saying like like back then we weren't so connected. So like the whole landscape has changed.
Whole landscape.
And you've been here in the SF Bay Area the whole time.
The whole time.
That's pretty cool. So you've seen like when like VC money actually started getting into logistics. Was
100%.
Time, like it was kind of avoided, right? It was.
Oh yeah, no, I was like, I was around looking for it in 2009 because I was growing my freight brokerage, and I was trying. There wasn't a TMS on the market that a small broker could afford to buy. They were just so big. It was like McLeod and Mercury Gate or what.
Ascend TMS didn't exist.
Yeah, they didn't exist, right? Yeah, Ascend. The
freetms.com. Yeah,
none of this stuff, and so I was running it off a spreadsheet, and I just knew that, obviously C.H. Robinson had one, but like a small brokerage, we were under 10 million, running it off a spreadsheet. And so I went and found a coder, and we built our own TMS internally, and it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. It was just on the web, I don't know how much. I just paid the guy to do it, so I just knew what I wanted, and he was able to reconstruct it. Started harvesting that data. Started doing some things with posting loads to, or having our loads posted out to our carriers, things like that.
Okay, so Tyson, this is 2009.
Yeah.
And we went from 2001 to 2009, like it'd be kind of cool.
That's where all the good stuff happens.
Yeah, that's the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom, you're writing some notes down. What are you writing?
Yeah, I'm fishing for a hot take here a little bit,
Yeah.
and maybe this is kind of teleporting back into the future, but also talking about this time right now.
Right.
And this hot take, would you say that freight tech and the evolution of it has kind of messed up the industry a little bit? Like back then, when you booked a load, I'm imagining you had maybe bigger margins, you had more trust, you had less late night phone calls, early, middle of the night problems, etc. And you just kind of trusted drivers to get the job done. Was like theft such a big problem, double brokerage, all of that? Like,
No, I mean, really, that all exploded right around, the COVID, everything really becoming digital, right? I'm just trying to think, we were using EDI connections and stuff like that, so it wasn't really that and posting on load boards, but it just really wasn't a thing, I mean, it happened on occasion,
Yeah, I've heard of stories of like before where carriers would pretty much hold load hostages because the broker wouldn't pay.
Oh, that happened.
So then the broker would have to pay, send them the check, and then
We had those
carrier would deliver
situations.
the load. Yeah.
and that was the worst.
That was the worst.
Yeah, but then it was like pay me my money,
Cool.
I'll get your
Fair.
delivery.
Yes.
Like that's literally how it was. There
Now
was
it's
no,
pay
there
me
was
pay me the money and I'll steal your load.
And you're still,
That's what it is nowadays.
yeah.
That's what it is.
I mean,
But now it's like, from carrier perspective, some carriers are even scared to even say something like that, even though a broker can be screwing the carrier too. I'm just saying it from my perspective, right? Because now we're scared to not get freight guarded, not to like right
got a
now.
lot more
I would
behind
come in. Yeah, there's so much other stuff that can happen.
I think there's a legitimate argument. I think we're in the wild west
Got
of,
some
of
food coming.
technology.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
All right,
get some
yeah,
food.
Come on in.
That's what we got here.
That was fast.
So, all right. So what I'm hearing is the cold truth is that freight tech freaking messed up the industry.
No, okay, here.
Okay, what is it? Freight tech? Okay, I think what messed with the industry is like all the like people. No, I think what messed with the industry is like
The industry
bad
got too
people.
big.
No, what
Yeah.
bad people learning the fact that they could scam others in this industry.
Yeah.
Because back then it wasn't discovered that like you could literally do everything over the phone.
You know who messed up the industry? Social media did, and us posting all the scammers and
It was
other scammers
us.
are like, huh, we can do this too.
Well, the funny part about what you guys do is like these were things that we all told jokes like quietly about to each other,
Right.
on emails, right? And so when you guys started posting that stuff, it instantly was like
Lit up.
and
Yeah.
I-
Because everyone before us was suit and tie and would not talk about the dirt under the industry, the
bet.
shadows.
and it was
Yeah.
so dirty, right? And there's like dirty's a different word, but there's ways of
shifty.
it's shifty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shiftiness in this industry. I think it always will. I don't know why, but it's hard to. It's just frustrating because there are so many bad actors,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Which
And
makes the good actors shine.
well, it does, right? And I think that's a role that I've convinced myself that I need to take part in, right? We need to make there's better brokers. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, we don't need more brokers. We don't need more brokers." So, brokers are going to be around. We need better brokers. We need ethical brokers. We need people that can make the hard decisions and say the right thing, even though it's, not what people want to hear and all that type of stuff. I think that's just too easy for people to do, and then it creates a snowball effect. Everybody gets blamed for it. So, it is interesting though to think what it's done to the industry.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by FreightFlex. Ready to take control of your future? Freight agencies are everywhere, but how do you pick the right one? At FreightFlex, we're proud to offer the #1 freight agent program in the nation, backed by an unmatched tech stack and a world-class support team. It's time to ditch the corporate grind and build your own freight agency powerhouse. Take charge, earn what you're worth. Contact us today for a tech demo and see why FreightFlex is where business owners are built.
I mean, the industry's evolved in so many ways.
And it's needed to.
Yeah,
It's needed to, and at the same time, like
Has it? Has it?
It's just doing it different ways now. I think
Tom,
there's some
you talk about it.
fundamental things that are still true. But yeah, I mean, so if you look at
I'm a huge, I love history.
yeah,
And
I love history too.
right, and I think there's so many lessons that we forget about in history, and I like to think about
Yes.
ancient history, how we used to send a boat across the ocean and just trust that it makes it there, and you
bet.
go to bed and just have faith that it arrives.
Yeah.
With all your divans or your carpets and your
Gold bars.
gold bars.
Coins.
Yeah. And sometimes a storm would sink it, but sometimes you'd get wealthy.
The risk you're willing to take.
Yes.
You know, to be honest with you, when I first realized that like shipping and logistics was a big thing, this sounds so corny, but I heard they were talking about Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, and she was married to a Greek shipping or whatever.
Like a Greek shipping cartel chic.
Like grew up family money of
Yes.
shipping, right? And I was like, holy shit, like you really can get rich in the business, but you know, I've never heard of rich shipping people, right?
Yeah.
Now they're all over the place. FedEx and
They stayed quiet. They didn't want other people to know.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And now it's like everybody kind of, yeah.
now the kind of secret's out, but
The cat's out the bag.
and there's a lot. I mean, so I don't know. Jeremy Thone worked at 3PL Live, had a podcast for a while there. His dad's a legend in the industry, man. He's somebody
Really?
you guys should look into.
Okay.
He just did a podcast with a guy named Tristan Bordello,
Okay.
and I think you should watch it. He came out. He started like 3 brokerages. 2 of them he like gave away. I mean, and this was in the infancy of it. Like we're talking the early '80s.
Well,
You know what I mean? And
he's a founding father.
totally. And like this guy's living like
What's
in our
his name?
industry. Robbie Thone,
Robbie Thone.
Thone.
So Jeremy, no way.
That's Jeremy's dad.
Really?
Yeah, and so he had never done a podcast before. He had never talked about his career, and he just did it recently with one of his mentors or mentees. It was incredible.
Wow.
Incredible. So
That's like the Andrew Carnegie of Freight.
well, one of them, you know, one of those guys that kind of, you know, there's a group of them, obviously the Silvers, you know, but you know, people that were around in the '80s, because I mean, it's only been an industry, or it's only been a thing since like what, the late '70s when you know, trucking was
80s.
you know, '80s, something like
Wild.
that.
It's wild that it was government regulated.
Right before that, right? I mean, that's not too long ago.
No, it's a moment ago. That's like my parents were born then. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was born. I was even born. Anyway, but yeah, it.
And I'm surprised when it opened up, it didn't attract more people in the valley in this area.
Right.
People didn't know.
People didn't know. I think it was a real blue collar thing. I think it's a very
But-
Midwest thing.
You know what's shocking? I learned this in the book, the Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. They're like,
About Nike.
yeah, exactly, about Nike. Like venture capital, like became a thing in like the 70s. Like it wasn't a thing to like do VC money, like because like people like didn't understand. Like because it just wasn't understood. Like it was just like you had like these classic industries, like, but like to like do technology. I guess that's when like the computers started being created. You know, like like that's when like Silicon Valley became a thing.
Right.
That's when venture capital thing. So like the 70s was like I would say like the beginnings of it. And Nike actually ended up raising VC money before they went public. But like actually, did they raise money? I forgot they raised money. They might have never raised. No,
Oh, I'm sure at some point.
I don't know. Like I know they went public. I don't think they raised money until they went public, but maybe they did. But I know that it was like it just became a thing. So like the 80s when the industries were deregulated, like people like probably didn't even know. People had no idea.
Wow. Absolutely not. And then you got to think of the transfer of information too, right? The flow of information. How do you get that information out and around?
Exactly. People like to experiment. People like literally like Paul Loeb was probably like looking at this industry as like, I have like a gold mine.
Thank you.
I have a gold mine right here.
Right.
And like obviously I'm not going to tell anyone about it.
Right.
Or like I mean, it was just like I you know.
It's an attempt.
I think Paul did tell a lot of people.
It's just been a long, and you think
There
back
wasn't
to,
media, Paul. There was no Freight Caviar.
well, that's it. No,
I mean,
that's
like,
it.
okay, here's the thing. If you have like a gold mine, if you're sitting in a gold mine and your body's a cash cow, are you about to just tell the whole world that you're sitting on a cash cow so that everyone is attracted to it? Like, no.
Depends
but
what kind of
true.
pirate you are.
I mean, like, you have your own insider secrets. When you have your own insider secrets, I on the Founders Podcast, David Sutter says this a lot. Like, the best entrepreneurs, like, are very like don't tell like others about their secrets, business secrets, because like they're not trying to like get a competition and learn from them. You know, it's like
Sure.
like Walmart like became Walmart. Yeah, but that's
There's a
just,
certain line. I
Hot
think
take.
there's definitely.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah, I mean-
definitely agree with that to a certain degree. I think also it just takes a certain. You could tell people what you're doing, and if they can't replicate it, they can't replicate it.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like anything I do is intellectual
Yeah. I
property.
talk about that about trucking. Like I actually met recently someone, and he was very like secretive about his operation and stuff, and he has like a certain amount of trucks, and I'm like, Dude, it's
just
not
hurting
really-
you.
Like, there's so many companies out there, and if somebody can replicate it, like, go ahead, like, let them try to do it, because I know how hard it is, and not
Right.
everybody's capable of doing
true.
what I'm doing.
I agree
You know,
100%.
so-
And it's such a
But if-
huge market.
Right, exactly. But I mean, if you're sitting on like some kind of gold mine, like I
Yeah.
guess you wouldn't really want anyone knowing.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, it's
I
different
think
between
nothing's hidden though these days.
Right.
Well,
no.
it's difference. There's a difference between like talking to like a medium-sized business or small SMB
Right.
to SMB versus like a Walmart or like a Knight Swift to like their competitor like Warner. Like I'm sure like they're not like maybe they are cooperating on some level, but
Yeah.
it's also different because like here you have this like trucks. Anyone could have a semi truck, right? But not everyone could
Run a
potentially run a business or get into like other things in some way. But it's like I don't know. I didn't say that correctly because I think in a way like running a trucking company is one of the most difficult things in the world. But like anyone could go and like buy a semi truck versus like not anyone could
I
go
think
build
a lot-
this app.
yeah.
Or not everyone could like
Yeah, when it comes to apps or I guess like tech, it's a little bit different because obviously if you have a good idea and you kind of want to stay laser focused and you don't really want to tell that many people until you created the app.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right. Yeah, I see that type of stuff. In the broader market, is trucking. There's like what are you really giving away? Like,
Yeah,
the rates
there's
kind of-
everything is on YouTube. Everything is on,
But
there's not
at the
much-
same time, like you said, it's anybody can open up. Anybody can be a broker, really.
Yeah.
But being able to be a good broker and to be a good driver and trucker, and you have to be a good businessman,
Yeah.
which is where it kind of starts to get tricky.
But people still pay so much money for like, consultations and like trying to teach them how to open an MC or do this, and it's like you can honestly learn
Right.
this for free.
Right.
Sometimes to save
People
time and
create a
money
business,
and
yeah.
have it in a structured format.
to be honest, yeah, I kind of get it too sometimes. People just like don't want it to do it themselves, but it's probably the best way to do it themselves. But like, I had someone open my LLC, and like I probably could have just like done it myself. Like
Yeah.
I have them do my LCs and stuff. I could probably do it too.
yeah.
Well, 100%.
Okay, so like I guess if we were to just circle back to the freight brokerage,
Yeah.
Tom, you want another hot take?
Yeah,
you really want
I
some
don't want a hot take
Yeah.
necessarily, but I just want to wrap that up a little bit.
Okay.
With I think revealing information is actually really good for your business.
Yeah.
I think that way it attracts other people that are interested. You get more employees, you get to move faster, and it's hard to replicate
Well,
whatever it is,
depends-
even if it's an app. Even if it's an app,
Yeah.
it's going to be very hard for others to, oh yeah, I'm going to do it, and I see it the exact same way you see it.
Today's episode is also sponsored by Rapido. Rapido connects logistics and supply chain organizations in North America with the best nearshore talent, scale efficiently, operate on par with US-based teams, and deliver superior customer service. Rapido works with businesses from all sides of the logistics industry, including 3PLs, carriers, and logistics software companies. Rapido builds out teams with roles across customer and carrier sales and support, back office administration, and technology services. The team at Rapido knows logistics and people. It's what sets them apart. Rapido is driven by an inside knowledge of how to recruit, hire, and train within the logistics industry, and a passion to build better solutions for success. Learn more about the Rapido solution and begin building your team away from home at gorapido.com.
I think technology is a different thing.
It is, but it depends on what you're giving out, right? Like, there's some information that has to stay private. Like, you're not gonna if you're a brokerage, you're not gonna be like, oh, these are all my customers. It's like
These are
I could
their
share you
numbers.
with you some information, but like there's
They
an
probably
extent
called
to
your
it.
customers anyway, though.
True.
At this point, this is the way I look at it, is there's such a finite pool and so many brokers that
It's true,
your
but it's
customers
like-
getting hit 20 times a day.
You're not
They
gonna be
see them
comfortable.
as shipper CRM. They just go to shipper CRM. They see the customer there. They give.
I think it dives into the relationship, and I think at the core of it, that's what makes a successful brokerage, trucking company, trucking company founder. The fact that you can lead and you can build, a following of people and not feel like, they're in a shitty, toxic environment. I think that's ultimately where it's at.
I think there's so many golden gems from you, Tyson. There, like having built brokerages and built teams.
I think that is like, you have a gold mine of information there. And
Yeah, I like to talk to people about it, because a lot of it was done through failure. And
What
that's
was the hardest thing about building a brokerage?
The first time, the second time.
First time was surprisingly not money. I was very fortunate that I had my big customer that paid me before I had to pay my trucks.
Oh,
So that was how I got started, how I was able to really build it.
how were you able to land that first customer?
Through relationship, really. I worked with him at my previous company that had gone on. It leaked all the way from C.H. Robinson
Okay.
The relationship started at C.H. Robinson, didn't happen at C.H. Robinson. Happened a couple years later at another company, and then I had the relationship. And then when I went out on my own, I went to my mentor and said, "Hey, I think I'm going to go back to law school and get out of the business." I was burned out. This was 2005. I'd been in it 5 years, grinding, and I thought I wanted to go back to law school. I wanted to negotiate deals. I wanted to, build relationships.
Do it on a bigger level.
I didn't really want to be a lawyer. I wanted to just get the law degree to kind of get into more of those environments, right? And I didn't see it at that time in the logistics space. And so I said, hey, he was a Brazilian Palestinian. Nasser Halim was his name.
Whoa.
And interesting dude. One of my
Was he a fighter?
No, he was a tough guy though.
Okay.
I mean, look, he
Was
was
this your mentor?
one of my mentors. Yeah, I took him under his wing. When I
How
went
did
to
you get that mentor?
He was at C.H. Robinson.
Okay.
And I was just over asking what he was doing. And I'd never met anybody like him before, and he was an intriguing dude. We had a lot of fun together. We had a lot of similar tastes. And so we had a lot of fun. And then it turned into kind of a mentor-mentee situation. I went to go work for him. And I got to follow that. When I look back on my career, I think that was probably one of the most important times because I was spending a lot of time down in Monterey. And there was a produce guy that was a produce broker that was starting his own produce shop. And his name's Ash Shukre. And he allowed me to kind of see what it was like to be a small business owner in the space. And we were working for a medium-sized one.
Were you spending a lot of time with him?
Yeah,
after work, or
after work, going to dinner, just hanging out, just like
picking his brain a little bit?
A little bit, but just absorbing, watching how he operated, how
Did he think differently?
Just a networker, man. It was all about the relationship. You couldn't walk into a restaurant in Monterey to this day and not
Talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody he knows.
Wow.
Right? And he knew all the big produce growers. Just one of those dudes, right? And him and Nos just let me tag along for a long time. And then I went to Nos and I said, hey, I think it's time, for my health and your health, me to kind of move on. And I was wanting to get married and whatnot and go back to law school and do this stuff. And I said, can I take a couple, customers with me, just do some freight. I'll set up my replacement. They can still call on the customer. There's enough freight to
so you don't suffer with me.
Yeah, I only want a couple loads, right? Like that's all I need. I'm just going to school at night, and that's how I started my first freight brokerage.
Nice. So it was very micro, and you set it up where you could still go to school.
Yeah.
You had a few loads.
So I'd book a few loads,
learning a little bit. Yeah.
By dad,
Small spoon,
and I was paying. They were paying me before I had to pay my customer or my carrier.
Yeah, that's really good.
I was rolling it. So I was doing pretty well, and then going to law school at night, kind of burning the candle, both ends. But
then you started making a little bit more money here.
right. So there was an infamous night. My wife will talk about this because it was one of those pivotal moments in your life, and you look back 20-something years later. But they brought in. So I would book freight by day, and then I would go to school and get studying in. First year of law school is tough, man. It's the hardest part of law school. And I would be exhausted sitting in there at 10 o'clock at night listening to them. Well, one night they brought in recently graduated new lawyers. So they'd only been a lawyer for a year or something like that to talk to us. And these are the most miserable fucks.
You're like,
The first year is probably super tough.
Man, it's 60, 80 hour week.
Yeah.
Or
not making that much.
Not making maybe six figures.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the back going, shit, I'm making that part time. And I don't really want to work for a firm. I don't really want to do that stuff,
They don't look very happy.
Yeah, they don't look happy. And so it just started making me think about it. So I went home that night and I talked to my wife. I said, I think I'm an entrepreneur. It was the first time it dawned on me.
Was that a word back then?
Not really. It wasn't thrown around like it is now.
Yeah. I'm going to become a business person.
I was more business owner. I think I'm
What year was that?
2006.
2006. Yeah.
Well,
2006.
right before it kind of hit, or it was when it
2008.
started crashing was 2008.
We
2006 was a booming year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
everything up to 2008,
boom, yeah.
everything up to 2008 was a boom.
right.
and then it like crashed.
We went through 08, 09 when the housing crisis was going on. We sailed through that. My wife.
You had a house by then too.
Yeah, we had a house.
Did you buy a couple?
Well, no, but like I would never have been able to buy a house here in the Bay Area.
They were that expensive even back
Well,
then.
yeah, even back then, and the only way you could get, we were because it took 20% up to that point, and like 20% of our first home, was 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square foot townhouse. It was $725,000.
What year was that?
Back in 2006.
Back in 2006.
Wow.
So
I was right at the peak though.
Right.
If you think about it, 2006, some of the houses in certain markets are still level to this day.
Yeah, we bought.
They
we bought
just
it.
passed.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And but we got in on the no down payment because 20% of that, right, is like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you're starting a new business.
Yeah, starting a new business, just got married and all that stuff. But so we were able to do that. But yeah, we had to do that refinance and the whole dance, and we got it. And the funny part is when we went through bankruptcy, we were going through it. They gave it back to us. They were like,
the house.
because it was underwater at the time. We were underwater for that thing for like 13 years.
Oh wow.
Explain to some of our young.
That's what I'm saying.
Underwater. What does being underwater mean?
So we owed more on the mortgage than the house was worth.
Yeah. So a lot of guys have right now with trucks, semi trucks,
Yeah.
with cars. A lot of companies right now are in semi trucks. Like we have trucks right now. There are 450,000 miles,
Yeah.
and we owe more money than what the truck is worth. The truck is worth $60,000, but we still owe 90 grand on the
Right.
truck. So you have to choose: you keep running the truck, keep fixing it, or you just sell it and take a loss and pay 30 grand out of pocket.
Yeah.
And that happens in the trucking industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. That means over leverage,
It
right?
happens usually in cars too. It
Yeah.
happens in cars.
Oh,
Does that mean you over leveraged?
Well, no. I mean, the house, we were doing an interest only for a while, so we weren't paying down the principal. And so when the housing market crashed, it brought down the price. The amount of the loan didn't go down. I'm trying to remember this correctly. I think the amount of loan didn't go down as much as the market went down. Does that make sense? So there wasn't even really much I could do.
That's set in place, but the prices just dropped.
Everybody
Yeah, so
around
like
here.
you're saying,
Yeah.
if like you're over leveraged, like for example,
Yeah.
when you bought trucks during COVID, you couldn't find a truck cheaper than $200,000.
Oh.
So you're not really over leveraging. You're buying at the market what the market was.
and
like,
then the
I
market
had
price
to buy
just dropped.
trucks at $200.
You need it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
You
we
had
had
no choice.
drivers, we had stuff to
You
move.
can make money.
Yeah. So you're buying at that time. You're putting a down payment. Could we have put a bigger down payment? Yes. Like if we had the money, but sometimes you don't want to put your money up front. So you put 20% down. You still own 180 on the truck, and then while the truck is driving, you're racking up the
making
miles.
Yeah.
But you're racking up the miles, and the truck just decreases
Value.
in value.
Yeah.
So like with trucks, you're always pretty much
Yeah.
on the.
Yeah, that's what we were fighting. I mean, we were lucky we got to keep ours and stay in ours. A lot of people were losing their houses around here during that time. It was a real common thing. A lot of speculators, obviously were losing theirs. And then when Pac West went bankrupt, we can get to that later on. We personally went bankrupt the next year, and the trustee was like, "You guys want to stay in the house?" And we're like, "Yeah, obviously, right?" And they're like, "All right, well, as long as you can kind of keep up the mortgages," in which we could at that point, we'll let you stay. And so we stayed, and then by the time we ended our bankruptcy 5 years later, I sold my business and the house appreciated, and we were able to sell both at a profit.
Oh wow!
So it worked out.
You had
but
a
we
life
to
from
grind
a-
You only
through
lose
shit.
when you sell
Yeah.
too quick. So never sell too
Well,
quick.
that was the lesson somebody told me when I first moved to California. Was the guy? I remember I met this guy. I used to. I moved down here not knowing nobody, right?
Yeah.
I came down, no friends, no family, no nothing. Just a 1-bedroom apartment working at C.H. Robinson, and but I got to know the guys around me, and they were in the same position. They were from other parts of the country, and so we became good friends, and still to this day.
Yeah.
But I used to go. The only place I could go watch. I'm a big Seahawks fan. Seattle Seahawks fan. The only place I could watch him was at this bar. It was at a golf course, and I'd go in there on every Sunday, and I'd have breakfast and watch football games and stuff. And there was this dude over next to me reading the paper, and I'd read the paper, whatever. So we get bullshitting. And then, long story short, we got talking real estate over time. Kind of asked what I did. He was probably middle aged at the time, and he said, "You know what? If you can just buy a house here in California, and then just hold on to it, and
Yeah.
do what you can into it. It'll eventually allow you to buy a bigger house because you can use that money to get into a bigger house.
What do you do with that house? Do you sell it and buy a bigger one?
Yeah, you just got to wait for the market. You can't speculate. You got to be in it for 10, 15 years.
Play the long-term game.
Right. Then you can kind of upgrade it.
Yeah, with real
So
estate.
would you still recommend that for like a young broker that's making good money today,
Yeah.
or a young business owner?
Like
Buy a house today even and play the 10-year game when
Yeah.
the price of the houses go up again?
I think you got to have some foresight. See yourself with a family in there. See yourself if you're single.
But that locks you into the region forever, so you can't be traveling all over.
That's very true. That's
Yeah.
very true.
So that's the cost.
That's the cost.
You have to know you want to settle down.
You want to be there.
So
Got it.
something I did want to also like discuss is like, Tyson, you went from basically bankruptcy to selling a company and having your homes appreciate within a couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like a rags to riches, like kind of like micro version of it. 'Cause,
yeah.
like,
And it happened honestly because from going bankrupt to like it was a 6-year span.
yeah,
4.5 of it was miserable.
Whoa.
exactly. So like, tell us about like what you were feeling and what you were going through mentally during that time period, and how did you get yourself out of that? How were you able to like go from being like bankrupt to selling a brokerage?
You got to believe in yourself. You got to have some confidence to know that you can overcome.
Do you feel like that bankruptcy like pushes a wall where you're like so fierce and like ready to attack it at all costs?
Yeah, I was more focused because I knew it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, not having your shit together financially, not overspending, not firing fast enough, not just being really in tune with your finances and building a company that's going to last.
Yeah.
And I was young, and kind of learning. That's kind of my thing. I learned stuff the hard way, but I could have probably weathered some of those storms a lot better had I been more judicious with our growth. I was looking for other people's money instead of trying to grow it with my own.
Yeah.
Should have just put bootstrapped.
Yeah, I was bootstrapped, but I think I was fortunate, obviously, in that first customer to have that relationship where I was getting paid ahead of when I had to pay out, and I took that for granted. I got other, then you get other customers in, and it kind of dilutes that a little
Yeah.
bit. So it just changed stuff, and I just wasn't in tune. Nowadays, I don't feel like you have an excuse because you really have everything digitized, synced up. Back then, it was literally like you got to take a receipt and put it in Excel and just be very, on top of shit.
Yeah, so time consuming.
Time consuming, and I wasn't an accountant. I wasn't a bookmaker.
And you didn't feel like you need to pay somebody for that.
I didn't
As long as
even know
you do the hard work,
somebody
you're
for
gonna
it.
make money.
I mean, I was so new. I wouldn't even know what a bookkeeper was.
Wow.
I had heard of one.
Yeah, you didn't have these great QuickBooks software.
I
that
thought
printed
I
out.
treated myself to QuickBooks in our first 6 months because we were doing so well. I treated I thought it was like a special It was a fundamental piece of software I should have had from day one. Right. So that's how fucked up my mindset was.
So what's like your rhythm now with looking at your finances, or what would it be if you would be a young business owner now? Would it be like every day, once a week? What are you looking at? The profit loss statement, the balance sheet?
Oh yeah, all that stuff. I think the profit and loss in the balance sheet. You obviously like balance sheet more maybe quarterly, but monthly you want to keep it obviously in the P&L. But more
Monthly
importantly, you want to be just tracking accurately.
Getting the right information.
Getting the right
in there.
numbers. If you're looking at a piece of paper and it's telling you something, but your company's operating in a different realm,
Right.
it doesn't make any sense. And that's kind of the position I was in. I had people come in later trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube once we became a $10 million company. I was spending all this money
on them to get that
to
right.
get it right.
Where you could have had
I could have just
someone
done it at the
early
beginning.
and just been doing that.
Right. And then when shit hits the fan and shit's not in line, it creates a lot of cloudiness that you can't stand on.
So if you did it today, you would hire somebody, even an intern maybe, and just show them, hey,
I'd hire a bookkeeper. In fact, I just started my third one, and my first thing I hired was a $300 a month bookkeeper.
Yeah.
$300 a month.
from India.
Yeah. No, because I wasn't doing much, right? So
Yeah.
it only cost me $300. Now it costs me more because
Right.
business is more. But, it just when you put it in perspective like that, it's such a minuscule cost.
Yeah.
For have such a long-term ramification. And that was one of the other problems I had when I built my first company. It wasn't transferable. It wasn't sellable.
because you had no information on the finance.
It wasn't, yeah. And then I had 85% of one customer.
One customer was 85%.
You know.
You were key man risk, probably.
Right. You know, and like
So how many people did you have for that $10 million company? Was it
10 was the
people?
gross we got to.
So it's $1 million ahead revenue, which
Yep.
is actually what most companies wanted before. And I'm not sure if that has increased now because of AI.
Yeah.
But I know before AI, like 10 years ago, or like even 8 years ago, my boss at Everest was telling me like that like $1 million of revenue per head is what you want in a brokerage. That's what a good brokerage does.
Yeah.
And it's hard to hit because I know like at my previous brokerage, I think it was like $500,000.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard because non-revenue producing employees, right?
Yeah.
You know, and especially back then, there was so much paperwork, right? You know, I had to have someone just like
Yeah.
wrote checks basically.
Yeah. And now that doesn't really exist, right? Like,
No.
It's not
Now
automated.
it's all automated, and like someone the other day wanted me to send a check, and I was like, I don't have checks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll send you you have Cash App?
How is C.H. Robinson doing? We keep talking about C.H. Robinson because honestly,
To be honest with you, I don't know, and that's a good
we
question.
have not been booking a lot of loads with them.
Really?
Like the loads is just.
I haven't seen their financial.
I have some dedicated
They
stuff
probably
with them, but like,
yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of this stuff probably gets booked without like getting posted.
like with C.H. Robinson, I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like they kind of.
I think that the last I heard, they
a lot
were
of people
posted.
from what I heard, right? And then it just.
Yeah, it's been interesting. You know, I got friends that have been there for 20 years, and they're looking at what's the reality of the situation.
Right. I heard a lot of people were there for so many years and then they got let go pretty much
Yeah.
and they lost their whole.
I have a lot of people that have reached out to me that are W-2 brokers. You know, they're now looking at doing their own thing, wanting to be an agent. I think the agent market's growing.
There's so many Asian companies out there now.
What percentage are agents making coming into like?
I mean, I think
I said 70%.
yeah, it's 70-30, 65, 35. For the legit.
For the ones that have their own customers.
Well, legit agencies. I think you can get some fly-by-night shitty agencies out there now that will say, "Oh, we'll give you 80%." And
But the reality is
65 at the end of the day.
Because they do some fancy bookkeeping bullshit.
Yeah. So I think the good one, right? Well, that's a whole other story, right? That's kind of the agent.
That's like spiders spinning webs.
The agent model is interesting because it's kind of an outgrowth of where the industry is going to right now.
So what is that exactly for people that don't know? Like, for example, I'm from a carrier side. I'm not really.
Well, so an agent is basically somebody that works under a broker's MC. So either you can have your own MC, be an independent, and run under that, or you can come to an agreement with somebody who has an MC and work under their MC.
Mm-hmm.
And so at like Global Trans, you got a bunch of agents. Some of them go out and say I'm ABC Logistics, but I'm powered by Global Trans.
Right. You don't think it's more a bigger thing for fraud to happen?
Not the agent market, I don't think.
No?
I don't think the agent thing. I think it's allowing smaller brokerages. You're not going to see the small brokerage anymore. The small, medium-sized brokerage. To be honest with you, I don't know why you'd open one now.
Say more, say more.
why-
That's a hot take.
Yeah, I don't know why you would open it if you wanted to get your own MC, because everything it takes now to be competitive in the market, it's going to cost you more to buy it on your own than to just get under somebody's agency
So-
and do it themselves.
Uh-huh.
for an agency, for example, like right now, I could have no money in my bank account, but if
Right.
I have customer shippers, even if I don't, I could just go to the agency, like they'll pay me 70% of whatever I bring in,
Right.
and they take care of all the back office.
Right,
And I
all
have
the
their
back
MC.
office.
I don't need any cash. They'll pay the carrier, like. And in terms of fraud, like there are some situations where like fraud does occur, but realistically, like most of it is like pretty. I mean,
And you're protected too.
you're pretty well, yeah. You're protected at the same time. Like, yeah, sure. There could be fraud that occurs. Like, someone could pretend to be an agent or say they're an agent. Like, but the same thing can happen for like a brokerage. It's like, it's the chances are the same almost.
And the risk, the risk reward's not there. You know what I mean? Like you're putting yourself out there, especially with fraud.
Yeah.
And so I see there a proliferation of agencies.
so
And
much.
I think also freight brokerages are looking at it and going, it's cheaper to set up an agency and less risky to have them as a 1099 than
Yeah.
come in as a W-2.
appreciate that.
Because if you don't cut it, you're not out.
I appreciate it.
In most agencies, you have like total freedom who you hire, how you hire,
Absolutely.
where you hire.
But that's what I'm saying. You could have like the integrity, the sketchiness could not be there. Like I know some. I feel like brokers that go under agency and they do some sketchy stuff.
Well,
Example?
that goes back to the agency. Then I think the agency needs to have more control over it. And
But how can they?
Because you're ruining reputation.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
I guess that's when you
And
start
that's part of the
seeing
agent
freight guards piling up, or
But then how can they catch that if like nobody's really how carriers are not really reporting? You know,
carriers don't really
sketchy
report.
stuff.
You're right.
Even though like you
like,
have these
I used to
agents that
check
go under,
DOT
for example,
DAT.
Worldwide or Global Trans or Landstar, right? And then they decide not to pay you tonos. They decide not to, pay you detention. They decide not to, and they're like, who do you really report to?
So
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother. Yeah.
yeah, but
Well, that's some freight tech
What-
need right there.
what is interesting though to hear from Tyson is because Tyson, you started a brokerage without being under agency model, and then that one went bankrupt.
Right.
And then you decided to open another MC, or not another MC, but another brokerage as an agency under Global Trans.
Correct.
And so what was like, what year was it the bankruptcy?
2015.
2015 was the bankruptcy.
Right.
And then like, when did you start the Global Trans, like right away?
Right away. Right in the ashes.
So you knew right away, like, I need to
week,
be like,
right away?
So
agency.
my second company's name was called Tactic Logistics Group, and tactic is the German word for strategy. And so I have some German ancestry, so that's where that came from. And it was because I was literally sitting on my wife and I mean, we were like literally in the ashes of it. Like everything was crashing down around us. And I'm like, I'm having to come up with a new name for a company. Just seemed like
Refreshing.
You need some German strategy.
over again. It was kind of, it wasn't even really that like exciting. It was like, God, I hope this works out type of thing.
Yeah.
And what I needed to do, and I think the statute of limitations have expired, so I could get a little more liberal, and I've had some wine. I was in bankruptcy court with PacWest, and as PacWest was going down, I was frantically trying to get into other modes and find other ways to diversify the business. And one of the things I lucked into was I wanted to do dry freight, but in order to do dry freight, I needed to have an LTL option. And I couldn't find an LTL option. I couldn't go to an LTL carrier and try to get blanket rates, right?
Yeah, especially back then.
Back then, right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't I had buddies at C.H. Robinson were like basically giving them to me at the lowest cost they could, and I was marking them up. Just couldn't happen.
Just Tyson, real quick, can you explain like the blank rates real quick to like people that don't know?
Sure.
Like,
So
especially for LTL, because I feel like I learned this from like recently.
yeah.
But like I know there's also like a lot that like
It gets really, it's real complicated, especially right now. There's some changes going on. I mean, what are we? I don't want to give away a date, but we're right around the NMFC making more changes. But basically, you go to a carrier and they'll give you rates at a discount for certain classifications and things like that. So you're able to mark them up and sell them. And
especially LTL companies. Like if you look at UPS, FedEx, or like even like the small ones like Dayton or something like that. Like as a broker, you're offering your customers like an LTL option.
Right.
You're gonna go into like a portal. It's funny because like we use the Global Trans portal. Because the Global Trans portal, you could buy blank rate, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we would go to Global Trans.
buy-
Global Trans that's what Global Trans kind of initiated, right?
they were like the first ones to do it. Right?
Yeah, so back then it was really difficult to get like all the contracts and stuff in place.
Right.
Like
And
you
they
had to be
became
like a really
like the
big broker.
Expedia of
Exactly.
LTL.
That's a great way to put it. Like Global Trans became like an Expedia for like the LTL industry, because back then it was like, unless you were like a massive brokerage, like you weren't getting contracts directly, right?
100%.
So you weren't able to offer LTL to the smaller shippers.
Right.
And so you were struggling with that. Like,
So I was struggling. I was looking for that option, trying to frantically, diversify my business. And a buddy of mine who I worked at C.H. Robinson had gone to work for Global Trans. And he called me. I mean, like, we would meet for beers all the time. And he's like, dude, I'm working for Global Trans now, and I think I got an option for you. Because he knew what I was looking for. Like, I've been bitching about it over beers forever. So he introduced me to Mike Leto, who was one of the founders. Mike and Andrew Leto started Global Trans. And they flew out here to the Bay Area from Phoenix and pitched it to me and the team. And I knew immediately, like, that's what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. That is what I'm looking for. And so at the time, they were doing like franchises. And so they were trying to figure out what their model was going to be. And I think they'd settled on an agent model shortly before. We got involved, but we were one of the first agents kind of there. I mean, probably the first 100.
With Global Trans.
With Global Trans, yeah. Maybe the first 50, I don't know. But I knew immediately that's what I needed. So I bolted it on to the TMS that I was already building. So my customers would go into our website, but then they would go over to Global Trans website without even leaving our site. Oh, no. I mean, well, they would leave our site, but they wouldn't know it, right?
Yeah.
And do their LTL shipments. So that was picking up, and we were getting some traction with that when the bankruptcy hit. And so I had to unbolt that from the business because that was my lifeboat. Mm-hmm. That was like the agency was like what we were.
That's cool. Like, so you created like this, like kind of like little special treasure of yours, little baby inside. Right. That was unique. You couldn't, like other brokerages didn't have that.
Right.
And like you knew you had to take that.
Right. So I was like, I need to keep that relationship intact. Yeah. So while we were sinking, I flew down at the time. I met with Marty Sinico. Hope he doesn't care, Marty. And he helped me out. I told him this position I was in. I'm like, I'm going through bankruptcy. You know, this shit's very legally. I'm on a legal tightrope right now, but I need to unbolt this and put this in another name.
Yeah.
And move on. And he helped me do that. That was the genesis of Tactic Logistics Group and going on as an agent.
I know a little bit.
As an agent at Global Trans, and that was in 2011. And,
2011.
So it was an interesting time, and I went full in. I made a decision like we're going to be agents, or we're going to be Global Trans. We're going to market as Global Trans. We're riding that wave.
Wait, sorry. So what year was it? Global Trans.
2016.
2016. So yeah.
Well, 2016 is when I started. Post Pac West, I started, but I had a relationship with them for about 3 or 4 years prior to going bankrupt. I'd been with them for 3 or 4 years as an agent attached to my MC. So I had an MC and an agency that I was technically using. And so the new agency became its own in 2016.
2006, you started your first brokerage.
Yep.
After 5 years of the industry.
2016 is when he opened the agency.
No,
2006 when he started his first brokerage.
Right.
That was called
Pac West Distributors.
That was called Pac West Distributors.
Okay. Right.
Yes.
Wait,
so
2006.
Yeah.
2006.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
After 4 or 5 years at CH Robinson.
Yep.
And then from 2006, you endured 6 years, if my math serves me, 10 years of building Pac West, and you went through 4 years that were really tough during that first brokerage building phase.
6 highs.
6 good years, 4 really tough years.
Yeah.
Maybe we can teleport back then to those really tough years.
I remember, just sorry, real quick, in Traction, I was listening to a podcast with Gino Wickman, like the author. He had his own podcast with Traction. They're doing an interview, and he said, like, in businesses, like, there's usually like you got like a couple good years, and then there's gonna be a couple bad years, and it's like you gotta be able to weather the storm.
You bet. You got to be resilient.
Yeah.
You got to be built resiliently. And that was the biggest lesson I learned.
Built resilient. However, if you were to teleport back then and you have to be built resilient again, are there other things that you would have done a little bit like better, different, or you just have to whenever you're building a business?
No, well, it was kind of both, meaning like I only knew what I knew, right? And
So if you had more knowledge,
if I had more knowledge, yes,
you
absolutely.
didn't have to do 4 years of suffering.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I wouldn't have had to go through this 4 years of suffering. I would have built a more resilient business. But when we got to a difficult time, we would have weathered it.
And that was not having great knowledge of your finances, overspending, and not firing fast enough.
Right.
Those are the
Absolutely.
big things.
Yeah. And just, being real loose, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. It wasn't very
Instead of focusing on one thing.
Yeah, it wasn't.
We're trying everything.
I was trying everything because I didn't.
We wanted to learn.
Yeah. So I learned the hard way. I spent a lot of money that I didn't need to spend.
Now, if you went back, like, let's just stick
So-
to what we know what works.
Tactic was very more disciplined.
Okay.
Very more disciplined.
So, 2011, Mike and Andrew Leto fly out to you.
Yeah.
And Andrew, they fly out and they tell you about this new product they're developing.
Mike, yeah.
Yeah, they tell you about this new product that they're developing. This is 2011.
Yeah.
And you own a brokerage. They're another brokerage.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, we got this idea. You're like, dude, this is exactly what I need.
Yep.
You add that into your umbrella back then as Pac West.
Yeah.
And cool. Now you got this amazing partnership. You're rocking and rolling. Great times. 2015 happens, and you're like,
we've got this thing that's causing us bankruptcy.
Yeah.
What was that thing?
I was doing, and this gets back to contractual rates and spot market situations, and this is another learning lesson.
Okay.
I built my Pac West off of contract rates in the produce market,
Okay.
meaning I would bank that the rate was going to be X for the whole year.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
this is kind of like people who are betting on football games a little bit.
Very speculatory, very,
Uh-huh.
very high risk, high pressure.
Whoa.
That's why it burned me out so hard, was because I would go through summers where we would lose $100,000.
And you owned your own brokerage then, so that was your own money.
Yeah, but then we would make that up in the other 9 months. So
That's
So you're working for free. You're working for free for X amount of time.
for 9 months,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, I'd come into work every day and I'd look at the board and we'd lose $2,500.
And the next time you're bidding, you're like, "Fuck, do I bid this wrong again?"
Well,
And
we
so
would
that-
we would see it from a bigger perspective. We'd see it from a 12-month perspective. So we needed to know, and this is why when Freight Waves came along and Sonar came out, I immediately understood what was going on because I'd always been looking for something like that. We would always do rates based on basically, past feelings and voodoo and stories.
throwing bones.
Yeah, like there's a Yuba City festival, so now
Oh, I'd be doing that if I was running a brokerage back then.
even right now.
there's a dearth of trucks in Phoenix is because X, Y, Z, right? And you had no way to confirm it.
Uh-huh.
And so anyway, I would I got so good on the market from on the I-5 market, which was from like Los Angeles to Seattle, or Portland, Fresno to Portland to Seattle, like everything on the I-5, pickup to delivery. And so I knew the rates would move seasonality. And so I would be able to bet on when the rates would go up and when they would go down. And so I could factor that into my calculations because I knew right around, and not just me, other people knew. It wasn't like I had these special powers. It was just like right around Memorial Day to Labor Day. It would be so hard to find a truck. It would start around Easter. We call it the Easter pull. Right around Easter, you get a real taste of what the rates were going to be for the summertime for the truck.
And then,
And then
Is this a regional thing, a country thing?
I think it's country, but it happens more regionally.
Okay.
Yeah.
well, so just real quick, I want you to hold your thought.
Yeah.
But okay, so it's interesting. There's always the Easter, because there's Orthodox Easter, which is a couple weeks usually later than I guess Easter for most people. So what's interesting about Orthodox Easter is that's when all the Orthodox drivers, all the Serbian, Ukrainian, Russian, kind of and then there's that. There's
They come out of the market.
They come out of the market, yeah. So there's always that one weekend or basically that Monday that's kind of tough on Friday. But also what you were mentioning earlier when we were talking was that in Yuba City, California, there's always this fastival that happens for the Sikh Indian population that lives there.
Yeah.
And what was it? Do you remember the festival? What it's called? Or when is it about?
I can't remember what the actual name of it is, but it's around their celebrating their heritage.
Around. Okay.
Oh, I don't remember the time of year.
No, okay, but you said rates because you had so many drivers.
It was during
Any loads in that area.
But you had so many drivers that were Sikh and from Yuba City,
Right.
California, because 3/4 of the population in Yuba City, California is Sikh Indian.
Right.
And you were working with a lot of them.
Right.
And so you immediately felt when the market was, I guess not when the
Shifted.
festival, the market shifted because they had a festival and all the drivers were home.
You bet.
So now with Easter, it was just interesting when you said that kind of came to mind.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it because some of these holidays would be bigger than others because of the ethnic whoever was driving, people that were driving. We'd have the Eastern Europeans from the Midwest. You have the Sikhs from here. The Mexicans down south.
It's Sikhs.
Yeah,
It's Sikhs.
Sikhs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so interesting. Yeah, very good, right? But so we would just so I would peg a rate and we would lose money or we would make money and start in January. We'd make money until about April, right? There wouldn't be a lot because January and February is dead, right? There's not a lot of freight out there. We had it guaranteed to us. Mm-hmm. So we were able to make a lot of money on it. Boom, boom, boom. So we start out the year.
Amongst your 10 people, your team of 10.
So probably had about that time I had probably 4 guys working on that.
All in the office together?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We had an old school bullpen.
Sweet.
And
Bullpen.
we and so we would chase trucks every day trying to get the best rates possible.
So you didn't have to worry about getting freight. You had the freight. You just
Had the freight.
Got to book it.
Yeah, and then we could go and we could develop relationships with trucking companies, and we'd be like, hey, we've got 5 loads a week out of this location going this way. Do you want them? You know, and they'd be like, yeah, I love it because it's consistent.
Boom.
Right? Boom.
That-
So we're done. So that's, you're moving on. Your
Automated.
So we were, the only stuff that ever made, and here's another hot take, the only stuff that's on the load board is the shit. Because the brokers are all, they got their relationships and all their stuff.
Well, I guess it depends on the season, right?
Depends on the season.
Yeah.
Depends on the season.
Cold truth. Cold truth.
Because then it becomes the gold.
You bet.
Yeah,
And, right.
Think about it. When it's a hot season,
In January,
everybody's posting
February.
because they can't move their freight.
You're
so
bet.
trying to get the top dollar.
Good point.
Pound that. Yeah. That was good. Way to
But you're in a low market right now, and I think when you said like how CH Robinson doing, I feel like they're just not posting on loads because they're covering it with their
Right.
their trucks.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
Right
like
now,
you have these dedicated loans,
pretty much-
and it's just like everyone's taking the loads from CH Robinson, so maybe they're doing really well.
Right.
You know, it's just that like they're not posting.
100%. Yeah.
So I had that on lock. I had a really good group of business and guys that I knew would guarantee me the rates, you know, for a certain time of year. I could never get them to take losses during the summertime or like to do contractual rates during the summertime. We always had to play the game. You know, they just would never like buy into it.
I'm curious if I could, quick digression.
Yeah.
How often would you meet with your carriers as a brokerage owner?
During that time,
This is 2014, 2015.
yeah, during that time a lot. Yeah.
You'd be meeting with carriers, yeah?
Yeah, we would. Yeah, I'd go see him. I'd been working with him a long time.
Would that help?
Oh yeah, yeah. I agree.
That help
Let me
with
tell you,
service?
the hardest part of the whole bankruptcy stuff was the loss of those relationships.
Yeah, because everyone's mad at you.
Oh, and I don't blame them, right? And they had to go. They got paid. They just had to go a different way. Yeah, I couldn't do it. Like,
They got paid,
yeah,
but from somebody else.
they had to go through bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Either it went through
That was time-consuming
what they
for them.
took back, or Safely got involved.
Okay.
You know, one of the things about produce freight too is it's not covered by the surety bond.
Wait, break that down for us. So you were doing a lot of produce shipments, first of all, because California, obviously, there's a lot of produce going on in here. But okay, what does that mean? It's not covered by surety bond? Because I honestly don't really know what that means.
So it's basically it's a consider. I can't remember off the top of my head right now what it's called, the actual terminology of it, but it's not considered recoverable in the surety bond.
And surety bond is
When
what
you
freight-
when you post a surety bond to be a broker,
Yeah.
I think it's 75,
75K. Yep.
which is ridiculous already.
But you pay like what, like a couple grand a year for that, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right, and
Ridiculous in what way? Too small?
just too small.
yeah.
It's too small. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, like at any given time, I was carrying $1 million a month on my books.
Strawberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and like, you know, when shit did hit the fan, it wasn't the surety bond that helped
Right.
people out. I mean, they had to go through the process, which a lot of them don't understand, and rightfully so, because they're, you know, not familiar with the way things operate.
Yeah.
And they're running a small
How do
truck
they
company.
operate?
They
Like,
don't-
I'm not actually familiar. Like, how would I go after, say, a broker didn't want to pay me?
I would go after who the
customer.
customer?
customer, yeah, and put the pressure there. You can get into whose fault it is, but that's not really for the trucker to really decide.
Did you get screwed because your customer didn't pay you?
So what happened is in my contractual rates, and this was another lesson in life, and I learned about a thing
You
called,
bet too big?
Well, no, I just learned what private equity is.
Leverage.
I learned that private equity wins all games, but
Why is that?
because they got money and they don't care.
Yeah.
So explain that to us.
They
in your-
can
in
be
your
out in
context.
the market.
Yeah,
for
it's just it's a non-emotional decision.
Yeah, but like, but you.
So basically, what happened was I was doing contractual rates. Things were humming along great for Safeway for a long time. Had built a great business, great life, doing it. And then when what really happened, I was over leveraged. I had they were too big of a client. And then,
How do you determine that?
85%. Right?
yeah.
I mean, you should. I think it's more than like 10-15% per cut. Like,
Yeah.
that should be max.
30%, you're in a really like precarious place.
Yeah.
Already there.
yeah.
At 30%.
Yeah. So anyway, they
What do you say? Sorry.
No.
but do you say no to the freight when you got a client like that? You know?
Oh, and they happened in tactic. I had this, situation with them too, so I'll get to that in a second. But basically, the rates changed on me, or they came in. We had a contractual rate. I took losses already. We were halfway through it. Private equity came in, changed the rules of the game. When I rebid for the freight, I didn't get enough to cover the losses I'd already originally taken,
Okay.
and it didn't matter.
So private equity went to Safeway.
They bought Safeway.
They bought Safeway.
They had bought Albertsons. They came in and bought Safeway.
Okay.
Relationships I'd had for 10 or 15 years.
Gone.
They were having to reapply for their jobs.
Yeah.
Their handshake agreement with me was as important. I mean, which
As important as their job.
right? And I understand that, but
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that happen as well. Like from being a broker, we used to have a customer where it was actually kind of crazy. I learned this actually later on. Like she was getting paid under the table
right,
to like basically like give us, because she literally told them like, listen, I could, as long as like the transportation costs are under like this % of the total shipment, that's what they were looking at. I'll give you a rate. So they're like making thousands of dollars per shipment. And then someone acquired them, and then that was just gone within a day.
That done-
and it
that
was
deal's
like
done.
they were making so much money, and then all of a sudden, yeah.
And
But
you gotta let people go then.
well,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, it was a small company. So, do you remember how much losses you had taken before like this all occurred? Like how much you were down?
at the time when everything like the music stopped, it was $500,000.
Okay.
So that was really the delta that I was dealing with, and I was asking, pleading for help with, and trying to explain, like, all you got to do is just give me more business, and then we're moving.
Yeah.
But they didn't like my race. They wanted to spread it out. They did an RFQ, and it just didn't pencil out anymore. So we were just halfway through the deal when that happened, right? And so had we been at the end of the year, it would have been a different story because I would have covered my losses.
Yeah.
But, I had taken them with the intention that they were going to be repaid through business that I got at the very
Sure.
end.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So that was like,
it's very risky, right? Like, I don't,
and a lot of brokers do that, right? A lot of brokers take losses and they expect to like make that
and
up.
that's what a lot of carriers don't understand.
But it's like-
Trucking
it's literally
companies don't
gambling.
understand. When you find a guy that's making $1,000 on a shipment, you don't know. He may have lost $1,500 on the last one. Because brokers got to move that shit. Like the number one rule.
Stan was talking about it today, where he's like, in order to get in with the customer, you kind of have to take losses or break even at
Right.
first, in order to think that you're going to get more later
And,
on.
right. And because everybody comes in and selling on price, it's all until you actually do it,
Yeah.
you don't know, right? And so these customers got to like,
Yep. You don't know the lane. Maybe like you post up the load, and also
Right.
no one likes the shipper. Like they need, double the rate because of this and this.
right.
it's
And then
like-
if you make a bad decision on that lane, it may affect a good paying one
Yeah.
down here. So there's just a lot of connected stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you can't look at one particular shipment and freak out about.
Yeah.
That's why the whole rate transparency thing is funny to me, because it just really it doesn't show the full picture.
yeah.
As a
like-
carrier, I disagree with that. I have a lot of friends that think that they need low transparency. I'm like, dude, would you want to share how much you're making, each truck is making?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense, because this truck can make you $10,000, and then this other truck will break down on you, and you'll lose $10,000.
Right.
So why would a driver need to know that?
Right.
That's not his responsibility.
Right.
That's one part of it, but there is like another part of it, which is
Gouging.
the gouging.
Perceived gouging.
Perceived gouging, but not
What is
really,
perceived
because
gouging?
you're
Well, it
taking
depends.
L's everywhere else.
Oh, yeah. I can
Maybe.
Blame the guy?
Yeah, because every brokerage still
It's tough.
ends
But
up
then when the
with 15
market
to
goes
20
up, they're yelling
percent.
at us.
Well, that's what I mean. If you look,
Every
if you look
brokerage
at-
still ends up at 15 to 20%.
So look at the biggest company in the world, or the biggest company, C.H. Robinson. They publicly show you how much they make. You think if they could make more money, they'd be making more money? Absolutely would. But it's the constriction of supply and demand. And look, I didn't get supply and demand for a long time. I flunked econ twice in college, right? And I didn't get it until I was actually participating in it. And that was what drove the whole I-5 debacle situation, was because during the summertime, there's a lot of produce coming out of California, and there's nothing coming out of Washington. So these guys got a deadhead back.
It's like Florida in the
Yeah, the Washington Cali rates like during the summer. I just remember now, like dirt cheap.
Right. And then out of Washington, yeah, you can do 50 cents a mile. Or
Yeah,
crazy
dirt.
shit, but you're getting $5 a mile coming out of California. So that's the market I played in for a long time. So I was trying to accumulate Washington customers, Northwest customers,
Yeah.
as much as I could down here, because I could offset my losses.
Sure.
And it was just a real. I saw it as a financial game.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as actual shipments moving.
It's gambling.
It's gambling, and it was hitting all those buttons, right?
Yeah.
You only lose when you give up, so don't give up.
Well, that was it. Just until the music doesn't stop, right?
So now, due to like all the apps and the technologies out there that like help you with quoting rates,
Yes.
it's less risky now.
Yeah, I would say so, because you have something tangible to show. So from that lesson, I took into my next business, a tactic, and one of our best customers, we used FreightWaves and Sonar
Yeah.
to go in and show them as we built. And even when we went, the biggest time was during COVID when shit was going crazy, we were able to say, look, it's not us. Look at the market rates. And then we would do micro contracts where we would go up. It started out quarterly, then it went monthly.
Finishing here, you're still working in that?
And then it was like at some points it was weekly.
Yeah, we're still
If you
working.
remember in that period of time, everything was so dynamic. You know, we were doing weekly rates almost.
Yeah.
But we had the visibility of the marketplace, you know, to back that up. But with that being said, so this customer that we had, we got into tactic. We started doing small, medium-sized customers. We found the beverage space, and I found private equity in beverage too. And we would
They're
start
everywhere nowadays.
Oh my God. So then we start working with a couple brands and they'd get bought by another brand.
Yeah.
And then you'd just be fucked, you know, and you would build up their whole logistics infrastructure, you know.
And they get acquired, and all of a sudden everything's different.
Everything's different.
The other team's running logistics.
100%. So we were like, okay, that's tough. But we found a gem in there. They're called Hint Water. I don't know if you Hint, but
Hit water?
Hint, yeah. It's like just water with a little bit of hint of
Hemp, like
I know what you're talking
hint,
cannabis?
H-I-N-T.
Hint.
It's like a little hint of like fruit in there.
Oh, okay.
Local company, San Francisco company. The founder, Kara Golden, she's phenomenal. She's got a great story. She was a former AOL executive who
Whoa.
stepped away to raise her kids, and she was dealing with a soda addiction she wanted to get rid of, and her kids, she wanted to have a healthy alternative for her kids. She started putting peels of fruit in water
Let's go.
and doing it. Well, the neighbor kids were like, hey, the Golden's got this great water down there. What do you got? The parents are going, what's going on?
Sick.
And we took them on that whole journey, and that was the point of tactic. They were the emblematic. They were like what I wanted every customer to be, and we did it on. We replicated on
Start small and grow.
grow
together.
with them. And at that time, Uber Freight, all these other people were coming in, but we already had a rock solid relationship with them. They're like, they took us from this to here, you know, and we had the technology to compete,
Right.
you know, and the know-how, and so it worked out. But it was hard to. We did that on a couple other levels with other customers, not to that extent. But what happened is they were on a rocket ship, and what had happened then? They became 85% of my company. Everything that I was preaching against, right, was
Right.
happening right now. It was like having a supermodel in bed, you know, and she's eating crackers. You don't want to kick her out for eating crackers, you know.
Yeah.
Like, what do I tell them? Stop sending me freight?
Yeah. All you can do is try to find more customers, but that's not so easy in this game.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
So we just started to backfill as much as we could, and we did a really good job. And I was proud of the fact, you know, adding more customers behind this, you know, behind them while this was taking off, right? Like it's already, you're trying to manage
So much freight. Yeah.
so much freight that's coming
Yeah.
away, and not get sucked up. It was the exact same thing I got sucked up into
The first time.
The first time.
And yeah,
And so I was trying to like regulate it, and it was so hard because you didn't want
can't say no to it. Yeah.
And so we worked it out. We were able to get behind it. But when I sold, they were about 45% of my business. I didn't like it, but it was such a good business. And they're still with Global Trans, I believe, to this day. And it works out. But
Because Global Trans is big enough.
they're big enough. They can handle it. And they have a relationship.
Global Trans is huge.
Yeah.
It's been impressive what they've built.
They were acquired, or did they acquire? They got acquired by
I would say they got acquired
Wex?
by Wex Group.
Wex Group.
Worldwide, right?
Yeah.
Worldwide Express.
So I sold my agency on a Tuesday, and then on a Thursday, I got a call from Bob Farrell, the CEO of Global Trans, that said, "I just want to let you know we're merging with Global Trans tomorrow. We're announcing it
With
tomorrow,
Worldwide Express.
or with Worldwide Express.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah, with Worldwide Express." I was like, "Well, that's amazing news. Like, I don't really care. Like,
Yeah. Well, thank God you bought my agency
Yeah.
a couple days ago. So
well, and it was funny because there was some urgency behind the scenes to get it done, and I'm like, Bob, what's the deal? Like, I want to get it done as bad as anybody does, but we
Yeah.
were kind of hung up on a few things. And he's like, if we don't get it done by June 1st, it may not get done for a couple of years. And I was like, that was all I needed to hear.
Yeah.
Really. And then I found out later why that was.
Yeah, sure,
you
sure.
know, so, which was great.
Yeah.
But then I got to see too, you know, I went into agent development at Global Trans, and I got to see what other agents were going through and how they were building their businesses, and you know, some of the, you know, kind of struggles they were having or whatever. And so I liked that role, you know, being able to kind of consult and coach other things. But I saw a lot going on with two big businesses coming together, and reminded me why I'm not a corporate guy.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are corporate guys. We're entrepreneurs, but like, I can't imagine going into a corporate job right now. Like I'm like unemployable at a corporate job. Like
I am 100%.
I would get fired so fast because
I am 100%.
I can't listen to people telling me what to do.
I was trying to conform myself to it, and you get around to it when
can't be in an
was
office.
going down, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but
I'd rather literally be broke than work in a corporate job.
you know, it's interesting too because
Stop, like I wouldn't.
you get to it, you see stuff grow, right? And it becomes, that was the things I saw at Global Trans.
Yeah.
It went from being, you know, kind of a small shop to then becoming like corporate. And
Yeah, no, it's true.
It just
you
kinda-
saw all of that.
for the most part, yeah.
That's incredible because Global Trans launched what year?
I want to say they were like 2010.
2010. So it's pretty early, especially
I was like 2 years, I think, into, they were
So-
like 2 or 3 years old.
they must have been one of the earlier companies that like got backed by VC.
Yes. So that was the other interesting part of watching that whole thing, was watching how private equity comes in and how things change. And then they bring in their group.
Yeah,
I called it bringing the adults in.
sure.
It was really kind of like a frat house to begin with, you know, which
It's just normal, not
normal,
brokerage.
right? And it was fun. But then if you get to a certain level, you grow to it and you start bringing in VC money. There's more higher stakes.
Of course.
They want things in
They want control.
place. So, yeah, no, it was, for it not to be my company and watching it happen, it was interesting, right? And going along for the ride and getting to know the different versions of it. And then, you know, now I'm still kind of in the family. I have a Unishippers franchise, which is in the WEX group.
What is a Unishippers franchise? Break that down for us.
So a Unishippers franchise is basically a very super streamlined freight brokerage that also sells small package through a UPS partnership,
Okay.
which is very rare. And I don't think there's anybody else in the industry that has that.
So it's a brokerage that kind of focuses on smaller parcels from shipping.
Yeah, but they have also,
You can do everything.
you can do everything.
But like you're like what you specialize in a way is like smaller parcels. Is that what you say? Or
So,
like, what
like
percentage?
expedited stuff, or
No, so it's just direct with UPS. So we're selling UPS. So UPS made a decision years ago that they wanted to focus on their enterprise accounts and their retail customers. So you see the UPS stores around town, that's the retail aspect. But that left the small to medium-sized business aspect really wide open. And anybody that was in a small to medium-sized business got really no support from UPS, which is wild.
Yeah.
And, like, that's just such a big, you know, gap.
Market, yeah.
And so they did a deal with WEX, which then through WEX Direct and then Unishippers, they can sell to those customers. So we're restricted to be within, you know, a certain amount of money. You know, we can't go after a Nike or you know what I mean, like
Sure.
big enterprise account.
Yeah.
But for me, the reason why it appealed to me, and I was done, right? Like I was finishing up my 2 years earn out. WEX was clearly taken over. All the people I knew at Global Trans were kind of gone. And I was just going to take the next step into whatever was going to happen.
Is this
next.
2023 or what?
So this is 2020, 2023, yes, 2023. On the way out the door, Joel Klum, the CEO of WEX, was like, hey, we want to kind of keep you around. Would you be interested in if we gave you a Unishippers franchise? I think they sell them for around $50,000 or something like that. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, the thought of rebuilding the brokerage coming off when I just came up, you know.
PTSD a little.
Oh, big time. My wife had a big time. Like, my wife, still to this day, she's like still skittish. But I came home and told her I was going to, when I did finally say yes to Unishippers, and she was like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, I thought we were done. She tells me now no more businesses, period. But it was the smartest things I did, you know. And the reason why I went after it was because the small pack aspect. We used to sit in meetings. We were a part of an agent council at Global Trans. They pulled together of like a cross section of their top 250 agents. So there was like a top 5 in there. There was a 20. You know what I mean? Like, and every one of us would talk about. They'd ask us, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" And everybody would say, "Small pack, small pack, small pack." And so it was always kind of interesting, you know. And then so when it actually happened, it was kind of like the dog chasing the car. You caught it, and now what do you do with it, right? And I saw it from a perspective of it's another layer to a business in which you can get into and not have to go through the full truckload door.
Yeah.
Full truckload door is the most crowded
Which
door.
brokerage out there is really small parcel, like quoting?
Right.
Like very few.
Very few. So when we get their small parcel, then we're like, oh, what are you doing on the LTL?
like-
and then what are you doing on the truckload?
Every shipper must have some kind of small parcel, right? Or no?
Not all of them, but you find more small to medium-sized businesses that do.
Yeah.
And then, we just have gotten into it. So we've found the small parcel picture thing, and we've been building that out, and we've layered that out really well. And now we're doing some LTL and truckload stuff. But I wanted to build a foundation around something that was a little bit more stable, secure. It's very sticky.
Yeah.
I don't wake up in night sweats worrying about losing my truckload.
No
customer.
freight mares.
Yeah, no freight mares anymore. But
You got the UPS rates on deck and
You just-
no more freight mares.
if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, it's UPS also, like a lot of, I'm curious, like, would you mind talking a little bit about maybe not margin specifically, but more about like the volume of like what percentage would you say of like your revenue do you think is like UPS like parcels?
So right now, we're 2.5 years old. Our first year we did 800,000, which was last year. That was our first
800,000
in revenue
for the
with about I think it was a 23% margin.
Okay, so
Which is pretty good.
Really good margins.
Yeah.
I mean that's fantastic.
And that's LTL and small pack.
Okay, and LTL and small pack have higher margins.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, more volume,
More volume, yeah. Also smaller revenue per shipment, but
100%.
more revenue, more profit.
Right.
Okay.
And then
2.5 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, 2.5 years.
revenue.
So we're about 800,000, and then this year it's hard to track because we're doing like 800,000 a month right now. So at mid
And how much do you think is that like of like parcels like UPS?
oh, it's 80%.
Really? So 80% of your brokerage is UPS parcels?
What do you ship that through? Like Sprinter Mains?
No,
UPS.
UPS picks it up.
So we're just reselling UPS's services.
Yeah, it's like UPS like needs like people like basic agents in a way to like handle their
We're
enterprise.
their sales department.
Yeah, instead of like UPS like hiring their own salespeople, they just like go through. They have a partnership or like they have an agreement with Unishippers, whereas like Unishippers just feeds them all these shipments.
Oh, okay.
And like for them, like UPS doesn't have to think of a sales team. They just work with Unishippers. Unishippers is
As
incentivized to
big
get all
as
that.
UPS is, they just couldn't cover.
Okay.
Yeah,
They had to pick where they wanted to go.
sure.
But-
I mean, it's easy. It's easier. It's like having agents.
This is how you fill your medium
like
gap,
they-
that medium business
They
gap.
pay you
Right.
when you give them shipments.
Right.
It's like they don't have to pay someone.
And it's I don't have to manufacture my margin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
I don't have to buy it here and sell it here.
Yeah.
I played that game, obviously. We talked about it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so now it's got...
You know exactly what you're getting. The rate you give the
Right.
customer rate. You have to mark up whatever it is, and
And also the Unishippers franchise is just more streamlined. They give you a playbook, and I grabbed that playbook, and I've had it, and I look after 20 years of doing everything I've done, and I went,
Wow.
this is what I've been trying to do.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm trying to do.
Can you go into that a little bit? Like some.
Well, it's just very process driven. It's got a strong sales approach. It's got, strong back office. Like, it's got a product in which, has a strong margin on it. It's very sticky.
Yeah.
It's just very, and then it's very like, you do this, you'll get there.
Yeah.
But I mean, doing this is hard. You got to keep making sales calls. You got to start
Yeah,
knocking
sure.
on doors. You got to do all that shit. That doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, they're not going to leave you if another broker calls and offers $1.50 on a rate you're giving $1.75 on. Mm-hmm. Right? And there's less competition. So you can build out a stronger foundation, makes it a more resilient brokerage,
And you don't have any risk.
and you don't have any risks. So then you go take risks on bigger stuff, on the full truckload side or the LTL side, which then have the higher margins. And if you fuck up, it's not going to blow up your business.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I built that franchise right now, and it's just been purely based on what I've the third time around
Experience.
experience.
Because now you don't want to go through all that suffering again.
Absolutely not. I have been broke.
Wifey, I'm not putting you through.
I don't use
again.
the word broke. I've been poor. I don't want to be poor.
Uh-huh.
And and it goes back to ultimately in this industry and being successful. You got to be mentally tough. You got to be willing to take some risks. And
100%.
the people that don't do it, they may be able to get by a little bit, but
Yeah.
it is it's a interesting beast, and I don't claim to have the the answer to everything. It's
Sure,
just, I'm
sure.
just learning every day.
So you've been, your phone here, it says, if I can.
Yeah.
It says, greatness comes from adversity. I don't know if I've met many people who have gone through so much adversity and suffering and are so cool with opening and talking about it. It's gotten dark for you and your family, and you've pulled through it all. And how do, like, I know you said you have to be mentally tough and stuff, but like, are there some things that for the other business owners that are going through this, those really tough 4 years where it's dark and it's just like you got constant storm over you, thunderclouds, rain, all this shit, you don't know how you're gonna pull through it, you gotta have tough conversations, like all these problems are coming your way, like on every front, and you're like, what the fuck did I get myself into? And like, boom.
You know, I can't profess to say that there's one thing. I think the biggest thing is you develop a thick skin in some respects. So part of it comes from your upbringing. You know, I think you start there. And I think you touched on it a little bit. You know, I had a great childhood, you know, growing up. But then my dad, you know, committed suicide when I was 18. And it really just kind of changed the trajectory of my life.
It made you stronger instead of breaking.
Yeah, well, you have it. And I think you ask anybody that's had any trauma in their life. I'm not the first one. But you have this decision to make of, am I going to use this as an excuse for the rest of my life, or am I going to use this as fuel? And, you know, sometimes you can chase some things, you know, when you're using it as fuel that can be detrimental to your own well-being.
Example, real quick.
In my case, I was chasing a ghost, right? I was trying to please a ghost. I was trying to please my old man, right? And I was never going to get that back, right? So, but I was still always doing it, right?
How, like,
just, you know, pushing yourself, getting better each day, trying to be a better person, you know, learning from your mistakes, being open, not being afraid to be not perfect.
so you've always been on this improvement journey a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't always that way. You know, I went through a lot of anger and regret
And darkness.
and
like,
you know, substance abuse, and
you went down those routes, because I was going to ask, when it gets really dark, like, how do you not say, in a business where drugs are prominent, like, how do you not slip into that? And
you know, there was something weird about it where it was just always like, we went the next day to work.
yeah, you
know,
just show up the next day. Yeah,
It's like, I got responsibility. I got to take care of this.
Right.
You know?
That was always,
there's no other option.
Yeah.
that was, I mean, you had 2 hours of sleep. Fuck it. You were there banging on the phones, right? And I got to a point where I realized that wasn't sustainable. You know, in the environment, you know, being a freight broker is very stressful. You day in and day out. It's got a short shelf life.
Especially being an owner.
And then being an owner adds another level to it.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and
So many moving pieces of brokerage, you know?
right.
So many things
You
can go
got
wrong.
people involved, and you know, I'm a very empathetic person, so I, you know, it's a hard thing, you know.
And so many things out of your control.
Right. So, you know, I struggled with all that stuff and trying to cope. I created coping mechanisms that were,
That's what I'm looking for.
yeah, you know, that were kind of just out of survival, right? And to be one of them, a big thing on therapy, man. I think talk therapy is important for everybody.
Talk therapy.
You know, and especially when you get to middle age, you know, I think if you haven't done the work or willing to do the work, you know, shit can come down on you. But also when you're going through tough times, you know, you've got to be able to talk. And, you know, I kind of ran from my thing where I moved away from where I grew up because I wanted to get out of
all of that.
the microscope of it, but it allowed me to become a man and grow who I was. And now I go back and I have friends and family there, and you know, I get back to the community, I do things, I love it. It's my hometown, right? They made me. But at the same time, you got to do your own thing, and you got to do what's best for you. And sometimes that's talking to people, finding inspiration places. I guarantee you, you're not the first person to go through whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
Right.
Finding other people that are
Right.
suffering something similar.
Similar, right. And just seeing the positive aspect of it. And, putting one foot in front of the other. One of the you know, things I talk about during those times is I simplified my wardrobe. And you can still see it in the way I dress now. It's black and white. I just every day I'd put on jeans and a white t-shirt and shoes. And I literally had to walk to work because
Saves you decision-making time.
I didn't have, but it was like I didn't have it in me.
You had no
all
energy.
That brainwave somewhere else. Like in the morning, I didn't even if I could have gone to work naked, I probably would.
Yeah. Did you have like some repeating loops that were
Right.
hurting you? Like, oh man, we got this X number looming over our head,
Yep.
or And
how I had to make this nut, how I needed to do this or do that. So, yeah, there was always things that were tugging at your mental health, and I didn't know what anxiety was, right, until I finally went through it. But I think you just face it, you deal with it,
and to cope with it, you talk therapy, talk to people that are maybe
you got to have a good support system.
good support system.
I would say
What about like
not a lot of drama at home.
Yeah, not a lot of drama at home.
You know, that was one of the things I had. My wife is a fucking superstar. I tell her she needs to write a book.
How do we find a wife like that?
I don't know, man. You know, like I didn't know if she really knew what she was getting involved in when she. But yeah, man, it's just one of those things where your partner can make you or break you in certain situations like that, and we went through it. And even if you're not in a good relationship, find your way out. You just gotta find what makes you happy and not be apologetic about it.
How involved was your partner in your business, and how aware was she of all the problems and things that you?
Oh, she was very aware. She was coming in at the very end. She was out of it. She hadn't worked for a long time, and we were having kids, and we had to put our kids in. It's a conundrum out here in the Bay Area, California in general. I think maybe elsewhere too, where you can't have her go get a job somewhere because all it would do would be paying for daycare. Right. So I used her to come into the office and do a lot of things in there. So she was pretty traumatized by a lot of the stuff. People showing up and whatnot.
I have a quick question here. And this might be not freight related whatsoever, but I just wanted to hear your take on this. So you said a moment ago that find a wife where you could be unapologetically yourself.
Yeah.
And so does that mean she doesn't hold you back to from where you want to be? I'm just curious what.
Oh, my wife's a hole poker. She pokes holes in everything.
Okay.
Meaning I bring something to the table, a great idea, and she's a fucking expert.
Yeah.
And that
shoots it up, and there's my idea.
And then you go back into your room. You're just oh man.
So I had to have my
come back.
shit together. I had to have my shit together when I brought it to her, right?
Wow.
And really that was when we did tactic. Was I had my shit together, meaning just trust me for a month, and that's all I was asking for was a month.
Okay.
And then we went from a month to a month to a month, and then we went to a year, to a year, to a year. And then now I think we're a couple years. I think I got about 10 or 15 years before she starts freaking out.
That's cool.
But no, I know it's not perfect for everybody, and it wasn't there was a lot of problems, that we had to sort through, but it's important. I mean, I think you look at a lot of successful people and they've got strong
Great woman behind.
some just to understand the journey, man, because it's just not straightforward, right?
Yeah.
And definitely with me it wasn't.
Yeah.
She met me when I was 5 years removed from losing my old man, and I was down in California rip roaring with some money and kind of no accountability.
You were a rock star lifestyle.
Well, it was just, my dad was my accountability.
Uh-huh.
And so to have that kind of pulled out, you don't have to account to anybody.
I'm just having fun, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to find that person you're accountable to.
Wow. And so you think she kind of stabilized you when you were rock star?
She made it more accountable.
Uh-huh.
Something to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did want to hear, Tyson, because you brought this up on the phone call when we spoke today in the morning.
Yeah.
About you're now being a partner in some investing stuff.
Yeah. So, I kind of always wanted to get to the point where I had an ability to bet elsewhere, right? I think I don't bet on sports because you can tell I have tendencies that would take me down the wrong path. So I do it in business, right? And now I have a little bit of capability to do that. I'm doing it just where I can and what I can. But I just like to, I've been observing here for a long time, watching how things operate around here and how people get rich. And it's getting into private equity. It's getting into venture capital. And one of the things I'm finding is these guys want to be in the logistics aspect, but they have no operational experience. So they don't understand what businesses are valuable in the tech space.
Mm-hmm.
So guys like me and there's other guys in the industry can come in and provide some sort of grounding and operational know-how of hey, this is legitimate, this isn't.
Yeah.
I can see stuff. I've done everything analog. And I questioned myself, and I won't do it again, when Convoy and Uber and everybody was doing their thing, I was like, maybe they're right? Maybe I sat back and watched that, but it just didn't feel right. And it's proven out. And the reason why was because they fundamentally weren't a freight brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to build a tech company and then a freight brokerage. And the ones that won are the companies that were freight brokerages that adapted to tech and have built and used it. And you have to build a freight brokerage first, and then whatever comes out of that, the people that come out of that,
Right.
those are the ones that have the answer.